on, folks? Hey, appreciate you stopping by. Today we are going to do some shard pulls for Fortis. There's a couple reasons why I'm doing this. One, I don't really like skipping on guaranteed champions, especially voids. Voids, they're probably just, I'd say, at least 3 times better than any specific champion in most situations. Just because they're void, just because they're legendary does not make them, mandatory, but, they tend to be better. Now, Fortis, right now there's a bug. And that's the problem. The bug is on the A3 that Plarium is identified as not hitting like it's supposed to. But just through reading it, I mean, it's too potentially good for me to skip. But there's another reason that kind of solidifies why I'm going to go ahead and go for this guaranteed Void champion. Um, so the biggest thing is they just announced the newest fusion for Halloween. It's gonna open up 6 days next week on the 27th. There's a good video from YST. I'll link that below in the comments so that you can watch and get the details. But the combined abilities with the new guaranteed champion Morrigan, um, or I should say, not guaranteed champion, fusion champion, is the fear implications between the two. Um, Now, Morrigan is going to be magic support from the undead hordes. Um, but the key, there's many good things. Very good support champion that kind of plays on the fear and true fears, and that's why I don't really want to skip, even if they don't fix this for him to be just an epic defensive based nuker. Um, the the fear implications with all of them is pretty interesting. Again, I'll link YST's video at the bottom of this so you can see all of the abilities. The most important one, which is, and sorry, not all the information has been released, of course. So I really feel like this is going to be bonkers just because of the way that Morrigan kind of ties in the fear, true fear. There's other champions, of course, but I typically go for fusions and typically go for guaranteed events with legendaries, especially void legendaries. But the A2 on Morrigan, 75% chance of stealing all buffs from enemy targets. One thing you worry about when you're placing debuffs is block debuffs. So you have a 75% chance of stealing all buffs from the enemy target. It is a single target. It is a 100% chance when it's fully booked. Also has a 75% chance, 100% when booked, of placing True Fear on all enemies for 1 turn. Now, there is a caveat to this. Obviously, with bosses, they can't be true feared. I believe all of them will place 50% decrease accuracy debuff for 2 turns instead if the target is a boss. Very important for, I'd say, at least half the bosses, if not more, to get that decrease accuracy out. Most bosses are placing debuffs, some are quite annoying. So it's not only implicative to arena PvP, PvE, but also to bosses specifically. But arena, adding in that 100% chance of placing True Fear on all enemies is just going to tie into supporting each other on how much you can just lock down the other player. So again, I won't go into too much information with Morrigan. I'm gonna go for the fusion like I do all other fusions, um, but I think it's well worth it to go for this champion 100%. So on the A1, attacks one enemy, 35% chance of placing fear for one turn. This attack will always be critical if the target is under fear, true fear. Again, you got a speed champion and then a non-speed champion, so it's just setting up the nukage. On the A2, attacks all enemies, 80% chance of placing a true fear for one turn. Debuff cannot be resisted by targets under fear. So you're basically replacing that, but you're getting an AoE attack. And then again, the broken ability for this champion that is intended to be fixed probably the same time, if not prior to the fusion coming out. So attacking all enemies, ignoring 30% of each target's defense against targets under fear or true fear. Always be critical against targets under fear or true fear. Damage of this skill increases by 10% for every time a fear or true fear debuff is placed on an enemy. Skill has a 40% chance to be unlocked for one turn whenever a fear or true fear debuff is placed on an enemy. On the passive, increases the chance of enemy skills failing by 15% when these enemies are under fear, true fear. It's originally a 50% chance. It's going to boost to 65. The active effect for the passive prevents this champion's death and keeps them alive with 1 HP when hit by a fatal hit. Then removes all buffs and debuffs from this champion. After preventing this champion's death, fully heals them and fully depletes their turn meter. 80% chance of placing a fear on all enemies for one turn, and then places a sleep on himself, which cannot be resisted or blocked. And then comes with an ally crit rate in arena battles by 25%. Not really something that's good for the kit. I don't think as a defense-based champion. I mean, crit rate, max and crit is important, but you always look for something else with a defense-based champion, like boost in defense. So having him in the lead just really doesn't mesh very well with me. But again, just the combination, the culmination of the new fusion and this, regardless of what it gets fixed to. I mean, he could be trash going to the vault, but it's one more opportunity for me to get my faction guardians boosted up. And yeah, it's just one thing. The likelihood is that you're going to get supreme nukage out of this, but we all know Plarium. So without further ado, let's get into it. I guess let's pause and go back real quick. Another good support of going for this is a 10-time chance for me to pull my first Krisk. So yeah, we got to go for it. So let's get into it. We'll get most of them, then we'll have to do some feeding. Sky Touch Shaman, very, very good champion. And hopefully, we see some gold before that 80th shard. We've got to see some gold before that 80th shard, and I'm going to go pretty buck wild if we get a Krisk. Krisk would be amazing. I've been trying for far too long now to get a Krisk. Will absolutely change my account. So far, coming up blank. Lots of blues, very few epics popping up so far. I've got to be very, very close to Mercy. Very close to Mercy. But again, nothing's guaranteed in this game except for this champion when you pull 80 shards. Sylar, very, very good champion. Faction Wars specifically, but she's really playable anywhere. AoE on all hits, so stun set is pretty bonkers with Sylar. Come on, baby. Show me the gold. Show me the gold before we hit 80. There we go, Krisk. Yes! Got Krisk, baby. We're going to come out of this with 2 legendary champions. Krisk is just amazing. Just amazing. On the A1, attacks all enemies, 30% chance of placing, 30% decreased speed. Debuff for 2 turns. On the A2, when ascended, attacks all enemies, places a 50% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns, places two 15% continuous heal buffs on this champion for 1 turn, increases the duration of all allied buffs by 1 turn. Can book down to a 4 turn cooldown. On the A3, places a provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn, places a 60% increase defense and 30% increase speed on all allies except this champion, and books down to a 3 turn cooldown. And on the passive, probably the most broken part of Krisk is at the start of each round, places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns, equal to 50% of this champion's max HP, 75% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense, and 50% decreased attack on the attacker for 1 turn when he is hit. Um, yeah, super elated. I've been waiting for Chris for far too long, but let's finish this out. Finish this out. Can't believe that Chris came out. Normally, I don't get this lucky. I've been back and forth to my earlier days of getting pretty lucky, but it's been kind of wishy washy. Happy to finally come through with 1 of the 10 times. So we will continue on and get this 80. We'll have to feed a little bit, but that's all right. We are happy in this moment that Chris came through. Very, very happy. And I really think the with the fusion, I mean, I don't know how many Mashalds I have. I think I have 4 or 5 Mashalds. So, I've already got champions that will go ahead and play into um, the true fear situation. So it's not like absolutely mandatory um, that I really just jump on this. But you can always combine multiple true fear champions, especially when you got a nuker coming in. Um, you can always go second team and just try to boost up the def. I mean, with Krisk here, you can have any kind of situation going on with Krisk. I believe that should be good enough. So yeah, I don't like skipping too many fusions on the main account. Okay, let's just do the 80. We won't do the 3. Let's just do the 80 and get that guaranteed. And we'll call it a wrap. Oh, do we get an extra one? And it's Blind Seer. Whew. Wouldn't mind this being somebody else, but I don't have her yet, so it's never a bad thing. Blind Seer on the A1 attacks 3 times at random. Each hit has a 30% chance of decreasing turn meter by 15%. On the A2, places block debuffs on all allies for 2 turns and places a shield on all allies equal to 30% of this champion's max HP for 2 turns. It does book down to a 4-turn cooldown. And then on the A3, revives all dead allies to 35%. Places a block damage buff on all allies except this champion for 1 turn. Book down to a 5-turn cooldown. That's what kind of makes this not as good. If you had it a little bit shorter, maybe bonkers for Iron Twins, something like that. But she's definitely amazing for faction wars. Sadly, I don't need it, but always adding to the collection is cool with me. And then I believe this will be the last 10 for the guarantee. Do we have a third legendary paired with the guaranteed champion? Yeah, can't be too stingy, right? Can't be too stingy. So there he is, Fortis. Your luck is not going to be like this. Maybe it will be 10 times better, but the likelihood that it's not going to be as good as mine. So always just doing it with my plan. It's very hard to go for this guaranteed champion with 80 void shards. um, with this skill being broken because this is his nuke skill, and it's not fixed yet. So you're basically going for the unknown. Not all pulls are gonna be like mine. So do what's best for your account. As always, we will come back with another video where I believe that we're gonna pull a whole bunch of soul stones, and then we're going to jump on this Halloween deck of fate. So we got a little bit of work to do, but that's all right. And just so happens, I maxed this. I maxed this with the 80 shards. So we will collect the Mundo, 200 Eternal Soul Stones, Soul Coins. Very, very nice. And we'll go ahead and use all this free energy to work on getting some gear to roll up and some silver because I need some silver to get on this Halloween deck of fate. We are a little low. So again, as always, do what's best for your account. I appreciate everybody coming through. Leave me a comment below and tell me how lucky I am or how stupid I am to go for this for 80 void shards. And I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Peace.